You are.
Okay. What happens when your relative crashes your vacation?
I get scared and I run away.
And we're back. Welcome to Retro Film Review, where we like to take a look back at movies that shaped our generation. Today we're looking at 1988's Great Outdoors, which was written and produced by John Hughes, and it was directed by Howard Deutsch. I'm Thor.
And I'm Ed. But first, like and subscribe to Retro Film Review so you never miss another review.
Do it now. Hit the bell notification. So, this movie features Chet Ripley on vacation with his wife and his kids going back to their honeymoon suite, and it's interrupted rudely by Roman Craig, his brother-in-law, who is coming basically to steal from him.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's a con man.
Still a good time. Steal the food.
That's right. And take his money in the end of it. But it is kind of a heartwarming story at the end. There's a lot of character development, family members growing together, people learning lessons of how they should treat others versus the way they did treat others. So, yeah. Before we get into the actual characters, what is just your overall view on this?
So, to me, this is kind of one of those typical 80s kind of light comedies that really last about as long as a Little Caesars pizza. It's kind of, you just kind of watch it, you digest it for a little bit, and then it's gone. There's a couple little pieces in it that you get that one spicy pepperoni, and that kind of makes you remember it. But after that, it didn't do much for me. I smiled or smirked maybe, a couple of times during it.
Smirked?
No,
Little Caesars is not a sponsor, and if they had thought about it, they probably won't now. So
it's only $5.
Wow. So you're not a big fan of this?
I am not a big fan of this movie. Yeah, I mean, I remember watching it, long time ago, back in the late 80s, and I probably haven't seen it since, and, that was good. I'm done.
You're okay with that?
I'm done. I think I go the rest of my life, and I'll be fine. To me, there's just better stuff out there. I think, I like John Candy as an actor. When watching it, I was like, okay, so he's kind of like the mild-mannered guy. And we just got through doing Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where he was very over-the-top character. This one, he was very much, kind of confined. I mean, he was subdued.
Right.
And I haven't seen that in him in a little while, because a lot of the stuff he does is just kind of over-the-top. So I thought he did well with that and trying to play the everyman kind of deal.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd is always kind of the arrogant, boisterous type. And I mean, he's got the hair, and he's the kind that swapped up, and he's got the the 80s clothes and the belt. He was all about his belt, but it was just I don't know. It was a little over the top for me, and I know it's a comedy, and I get that. I just don't ever see this really ever happening like this. The situation that these people were put in. Yeah, I just don't see this as like, I don't know. I don't...
See, I can see this happening. I can see a family being on vacation and just other family members just showing up. Knowing that, especially in this case, that Chet has a great heart, and he doesn't like Roman, but he's got a big heart. And so he'll accept them in and deal with it and go through his own misery. He wants this family vacation to bond with his sons, especially his oldest son, to pass on the family ring. And now he's got 4 other people to deal with.
Right.
Which I could honestly see people just showing up. Or maybe they're at the same campground and then the people are just always over there. And they don't have their time to relax. Now for me, I've seen it a few times since the 80s. I like the movie. Now, it's not my favorite John Hughes film. It's not my favorite John Candy or Dan Aykroyd film, but to me, there's enough little nuggets in there Well, even the chemistry is good between them.
I thought the chemistry was good, but they're both good comedians.
Well,
you know?
yeah, but I think there's little parts in there that make it worth watching. If you not every year or something like that, but just multiple times. More than I watched it in '88 and I watched it for this review.
Yeah.
I watched it obviously for this review, but I'm not gonna watch it tomorrow. So I mean, we've got the bear in there. It's a 9'6" Kodiak bear. We've got the raccoons that you like.
Yeah, I actually thought, the non-human characters to me were the more interesting ones.
I think the best part of the whole thing is the old 96er, the big steak.
I think that is, and that's
that's such an iconic thing from this movie. I think that not everybody knows this movie, but if they see that picture of him trying to eat that steak, or he does eat it.
So basically, you have to eat a 96-ounce steak, and then everybody at your table gets your meal free.
That's what, an 8-pound? Is that an 8-pound steak? 16 ounces is it? 16 ounces is a pound.
Yeah.
I don't know.
32.
No, 12 ounces. I don't know. I don't know, man.
16, 32, that's 4.
Glad I'm not an engineer. Your house would fall in.
It's at least 6 pounds.
How about this? It's a big steak.
He's a big guy.
If you're watching, which I know you are, you get your calculator out.
Put the comments in the below and tell us how we messed that up.
We'll give you a heart there or something like that.
But yeah, so and I guess it's probably expensive, and if you don't eat it, you got to pay for it, and then if you eat it, then everybody at the table gets free.
Well, yeah, and just like there's a lot of restaurants that'll have not 96-ounce steak, but they'll have a massive hamburger and 2 pounds of fries or more or whatever.
Yeah.
And you have to eat it. And it's not a matter of like this one where there's not a time limit for this one. It's if you can finish it. Right. The other ones are usually like you have to finish this in 30 minutes or you have to finish an hour.
Right.
And like I remember a restaurant in Florida when I was in high school. I'm going to get the name of the thing wrong, so I won't say it. But it was one of those. It was a hamburger literally this tall, and then you had your fries. It wasn't 2 pounds of fries. And you had like 30 minutes or something to finish, or 20 minutes. And I'm like, and I can eat, obviously. But I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Because
I don't want to be miserable.
One, you don't want to be miserable. Two, if somehow you don't make it, you got to pay for the whole thing.
Right.
And it's like, forget that. But that's probably my favorite part. But we can talk about the characters, some of the different scenes. And I know you're definitely not a fan of it, so you'll have a different perspective. But let's talk about, I think, the main character, which is John Candy.
Oh, yeah.
Now, like you said, you're coming off of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is actually released in '87. So you take his performance in that, and then you put it with this one.
Dial it down a little bit.
It dialed it down a lot. And I don't mean the over-the-top as Dale Griffith in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was, but the actual performance, the heartfelt, just... You really sympathize with that guy. This one, it seems a little more forced, the situations and different things that he was doing. But I did feel for him being on vacation, wanting certain things, and then it didn't happen. But that also brings me back to the other movie, Summer Rental. He was going on vacation. Things didn't turn the way he wanted. So it was, I won't say rehashed, but
right.
You're back in that same role. It was like a typecast.
Yeah,
kind of thing, but
he needed the neighbor back from Summer Rental to come to the cabins. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of
if you don't get that, you need to watch Summer Rental. Then there you go.
But I mean, he did good, and I guess some of the situations, but I guess some of the scenes that I thought some of them went on way too long.
Yeah,
and some of the ones weren't fleshed out enough. I thought the whole his skiing.
Oh, jet skiing, the water skiing.
The water skiing just went on forever. And that could have been shortened up a little bit. And I mean, we got it. I mean, you got it. But they made him like an expert skier because he was going through things, and I don't think he was supposed to be.
Well, I think it was more he looked like an expert skier, but he was really, skiing on one leg as he lost it going through the weeds or whatever.
But there was so much like that would have been funny, but they did nothing with it. They just had the one lady go, and I'm like, but why not have the townsfolk, everybody that's sitting on the beach, getting up and cheering for him or something, and he's doing all these crazy feats with it. That's my whole point. Is that a lot of this is just, to me, is a lot of missed opportunities. I think, the best scene, honestly, like you said, is the 96er. But they spent more time having his son look at his watch to see if he was missing his girlfriend back at the docks than they really did show him eating the steak. Or how...
What they really should have done watching that clock was actually show us the time. Because she was supposed to be there at 9 o'clock, and, he kept doing this, and it's like, we ought to watch that dial.
Yeah.
Boom. And,
and
like,
just see the misery on his face and trying to eat it. And I really should have showed him trying to eat the fat. Because he left everything at the end, and they're like, it's not done. But
he's not done. Or he's not finished.
Yeah. But
come on, the only thing left is fat and gristle. He's not finished. Hey, if you can get him to choke down the dessert, get a couple Paul Bunyan hats for the kids, then they come out with hats on.
Yeah. So, but that's my whole thing. Is I think that, and I like John Hughes' writer. I mean, I think he's fantastic. He's a fantastic director, writer. I mean, I got my Ferris Bueller shirt on here, and which made Thor very upset. He's jealous. He needs one. Y'all send him some money to make him one. But anyways, I just felt like the script just really, it didn't tighten up what needed to be tightened, and it didn't really accentuate what needed to be accentuated. I think there's just a lot of missed opportunities in the film.
Do you think it'd be different if John Hughes actually directed this film?
It probably would have. But the same thing kind of goes, with Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I mean, there was, when we talked about it before, that it was like a 2.5 or 3 hour movie that they cut
longer.
Well, they cut it down to an hour and a half, and this is about an hour and a half, and so sometimes, but even a lot of the stuff that we looked at, we talked about that was cut out, really made it a darker film, and so sometimes that stuff is cut out, and maybe if he was directing, he would have probably had more of a hands-on feel about what should have been taken out and what.
Well, John Hughes had what he liked to do was always evolve the script as he's directing, as he's going through it, and Howard Deutsch doesn't do that. Now, this was their third and their final film together that he directed.
Maybe there was a reason.
Well, I mean, the first one, they did Pretty in Pink, and then Some Kind of Wonderful, and then, of course, The Great Outdoors. And this one had a budget of, I wrote it down, I think it was $24 million, and it only grossed less than $50 million in the box office. So it wasn't a hit.
No.
Yeah,
no, it was, but what I understand, it was critically panned and audiences didn't like it, but once it got onto the video, it gained more popularity.
Some movies do much better on DVD or VHS at the time or whatever. Yeah. So, let's go into Dan Aykroyd as Roman Craig. He plays the part perfectly.
As far as that, as
what
being
he's
that,
supposed to do.
what he's supposed to do, I think he did a good job.
Yes.
Again, I mean, it was just annoying. I mean, that's
that's what he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be, I won't say a fast talker, but I mean, he was, he was a trader on the stock market. So he's used to wheeling and dealing, making, deals. He's used to talking to people, schmoozing them, building that stuff, and just running his mouth, talking a good game.
Yeah.
But as we learned in there, he talked himself into a bad investment, and they lost everything.
Right.
To their fake Rolex watches. But he didn't act like that. When he came there, he acted like, because he has driving his Mercedes, he acted like he was king of the world. And it was keeping that persona up.
Right.
But, I mean, he went out and bought lobster tails when, Chet was just going to have hot dogs. You know what those were made out of?
Yes.
Lips and, So, but anyway. So
the raccoons do that too.
Yeah. So, and that was the fun part about the raccoons. But he actually has and it's kind of lame, he has a character arc, a character flip. I mean, he flips from being the arrogant person that he is and the thief that he is.
The ending to me was just rushed and contrived. I mean, it was like, let's put somebody in a situation that causes all the family to rush to go help each other.
Yeah.
And then you're like forcing, goodwill on everybody at the end. Like everybody comes out. they start bad, they come together, and now they're all happy again. And it, like I said, I don't want to give away kind of everything that happened, but it felt forced and brushed. I mean, I think, the big bear, Bart the bear, was kind of a main part of that end scenes, which was alluded to at the very beginning with the story that John Candy tells. Which I thought that was pretty good. I had the way he kind of told it. I'm surprised everybody sat there and listened. I don't know if my kids would sit there like that and listen, and I don't know. But anyways, I felt like they should have really kind of put the bear in it a little bit along the ways, almost kind of like Jaws or something, where you had this tale that you were telling about. And you may not have needed to show the whole bear, but you could have showed the leaves rustling, or done something just to
or
kind
they're driving and you see the bear off in the was that a bear? Was it
But I'm just kind of like, where the girls fell down this hole, and I'm just kind of like, well, how'd the bear get in there? Is that just his home, and could they have gone out the other end, or could they have, I don't know. It just all of a sudden everything just was like there.
Yeah, and we've talked about that with other movies, how there's sometimes a long drawn out build up, and then the ending is just rushed. You got to wrap it up in a quick bow to make everything, to get your point across that you were trying to do. But I don't think Roman Craig learned his lesson. I think he was going to go back to being the swindler that he is.
Right.
And it even shows at the very end, when like we talked about before the video, I'll race you home.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you have a home. Why are you going to our home?
Yeah. Well, and even with that, I mean, if his wife had to been talking to him at the end, guilting him in to how great, John Candy and his wife were doing, he probably would have turned around and came back. And
no, he wouldn't, because whenever, and what we're talking about is Roman cons him, Chet, into giving him some money. And he actually tells him a pretty big lie, basically saying, hey,
and
you guys were drunk, but you said that I was a crook. You told my father-in-law that I was a crook. And he uses a different little kind of term.
Spent a lot of runtime telling that story.
Yeah, and so Chet feels bad. He's like, look, I had a lot to drink that night. I take you at your word. If you said I said it. And everybody, all the rest of the family's like, I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you acted that way. And so he's like, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to forgive. I'm not holding a grudge. I'll still let you in on this investment opportunity, and $25,000, what's your position, cash position? And he's like, well, I don't have that, but I can go to the bank Monday.
That's the whole thing is that even with that, I mean, you telling that story, I'd be like, what? I may have said it. I still probably think it is. I probably shouldn't have said it, but I don't want to give you any money. I mean, I'm just like, why did he feel forced to give him?
Because he felt guilty for doing.
I'll go buy you lunch or something.
He was trying to, in his mind, I'm reading into it, make amends for the I guess how bad Roman has felt since the time being married, knowing that, hey, every time I see Chet, this is what he really thinks of me.
Yeah.
And so, Chet's going, all right, look, man, you're such a good guy to forgive me for that. Here, you saying this is a good opportunity? I'll believe you, because,
But I said, I get it.
So
but I'm just like,
when they leave the place, he looks at the check, puts it up in the sun visor, and like you said, then his wife, who's Annette Bening, played by Annette Bening,
her first feature role.
Yep. So. And she doesn't have a huge part in this, but for her first role, she did a great job, obviously. But she starts, not knowingly, but she starts guilting her husband. That was very nice of him to do that. Apparently it's like half of his yearly salary, and he's like, oh God, I can't do this. Finally he grew a conscience. But if his wife hadn't said anything,
I don't think he would have done anything.
And so he turns around, obviously, and goes back and says, and he rips up the check. And he's like, I came up here to con you.
Lies, all lies!
That was loud.
Austin Powers.
I don't know if we'll do that one.
Huh?
But anyway. So, and what's funny about that check, I mean, you can pause the video and you can see...
Did you look up the address?
No, I saw somebody did it. I paused it like right after that, and I was lazy. I didn't go back for the address, but it gives the address. It actually has Chet Ripley's signature. It was for $5,000, and it was written on July 25th. Was it? 87.
So I'm curious because they always film about a year ahead of time. I'm curious if that's actually what the day was.
I know. That's what. That's the only thing I wondered when I saw it. I'm like, did they just go, oh, and here, let's sign this real quick?
Yeah.
What I also thought was, if someone was really savvy, the bank account number's on the bottom of the check.
I'm sure that's not right. That's not accurate.
So we talked about those two. What other main character? I think those are really the main characters.
Those are the main characters. Everybody else is very supporting or C grade. One of the worst characters. I mean, he's not like he's like bad, but just like the worst character arc is really the son.
Which son?
Well, the oldest one.
Buck?
Yeah, the one who's trying to become a man and go out on his own on vacation and be left alone, and he meets a girl that really a girl who lives there in the town, but it goes nowhere, and they do nothing with it other than at the end of it it's all right, keep in touch. And it was point. I mean, she even just said, "You're just going to be like everybody else who just kind of comes in and leaves," and that's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happens.
Maybe
she don't want to get involved because he's just going to be there for a week, and gone.
It's like, no, you're.
But you're right. There was 0 point to that little subplot or sub story.
Yeah, it was almost like we just had to put Teenage Star in there so we could try to get some money. But I don't even think that kid was even in anything. Now, she looked kind of like a Leah Thompson stand-in.
Yeah. Well, ironically, Howard Deutsch married Leah Thompson.
Oh, really?
In '89, after he directed her, I think he directed her. But anyway, they got married in '89,
so
and they're still
Leah
married.
Deutsch.
Yeah. Wow. And they're still married today. So that's pretty cool.
That is. Good for you, Leah. Staying together in Hollywood, it's hard these days.
There's some. Now, even though that we saw that son a lot, the youngest son, Ben, there was no point for him to be in the movie.
He just spilled his popcorn. That's kind of all he ever did.
Yeah, it was.
And act scared whenever John Candy talked. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Then I saw the girls, Roman and his wife Connie. They're not Connie. That's Chet's wife, Kate. They had the two girls,
right,
Mara and Kara, the little redheads, and all I could think about was the girls, the twins in The Shining.
Yes, yeah, and they're about as scary as that. And did they not reference that? They didn't reference that in the movie at all.
No. Chet said something about there's something weird with those kids, and his wife was like, I wasn't talking about the girls, I was talking about something. He's like, oh yeah, because they've always been something wrong with them.
Yeah,
or spooky or something like that.
And they even had their own little character arc. They didn't speak at all at the beginning, and then they told Chet at the end of the movie, "Have a great day."
Yeah.
We had a great time here.
Yeah.
Getting lost and not eaten by a bear.
Well, they didn't really have a father figure, even though the dad was present in Roman.
Right.
He didn't know how to communicate and really interact with his girls.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he even botched trying to. After Chet gave the story about the bear, he blew the ball-headed bear. Chet walks by and sees. Gosh, I'm getting it all wrong. Roman walks by and sees Chet talking to his youngest son, going, "Hey, it was just a story. It's nothing to worry about." So he's like, Roman says, "I got to go check on my girls." So he goes in there and they're on the bed, wide-eyed. And he's like, "Hey, don't worry about that story. That was just a yarn he was spinning." He goes, "It's not unlike the story that my father told me about the
mass murderers or whatever it was.
The mental patients that the army had locked in metal boxes and they escaped and murdered everybody. It's not like that one. So don't you worry about any bears." And they're like, they stayed awake all night. Didn't want to close their eyes. But you like the raccoons, right?
So yeah, I like the raccoons. The raccoons, it was just kind of funny having. It was almost kind of like having live memes, which before memes were even a meme. But where they just kind of commented on the family and all that kind of stuff. It was funny, And if you do have to stay all the way to the end, there's a tag, at the end of it with the raccoons again talking about the bear.
My favorite part with the raccoons, though, was the second night they went to get the food, and the one raccoon says, "Can I stay up and watch the big man clean it up again?"
Yeah.
So I think I've covered most of my notes. I mean, there was a bit character. There was a bunch of bit characters, but the guy Reg, who got hit by lightning 66 times, and then he got hit again at the end. But
again, I think they could have done something with him.
Maybe if they were all three together and lightning just hit him, and th're like, "What in the world?" I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there was a storm, but and then you had the whole. I don't. What was the plot device of trying to go to that man's birthday that he died? Other than just was that supposed to be funny that he died on the way to his birthday? There was just certain things that just didn't work, and I think it had potential. I'm gonna go ahead and jump to this as we're gonna talk about our time warp rating, and that they're looking at doing this. I think it's with Kevin Hart.
Yes, I'm going to throw this table. Nothing against Kevin Hart. He is amazing. Seriously. The problem, quit making remakes.
Yeah.
Quit. Quit.
But my whole thing is saying is that I think you could probably tweak this. The problem is that they're not. They're just going to rework this whole thing again. But you could, if I'm going to give it a rating, could you remake this thing and make it good? Yeah, I think you could. You can give it a 7 or an 8. But
but
they're not. They will screw it up just as they always do.
All you have to do, Hollywood, and nobody's going to see this anyway, is all you have to do is say, back to the great outdoors. And then it's just another family that's coming out there. They can have the same kind of boat kind of scene. They can have some of the same similar stuff. They could have the steak scene. And how funny would that be, honestly, to see Kevin Hart trying to get a 96 and have a picture on the wall of Chet Ripley. Yeah, there's only been one guy to do that before. And they have a picture of him. Tie it in. But don't just do the same exact script.
Yeah.
All they're going for is the quick buck. That's it.
Yeah.
And now, if this was an absolutely smash hit, and they were trying to do it, that's one thing. But as much as I do like it, it wasn't a smash hit.
Yeah.
So why are you going to remake?
Well,
exact copy a mediocre movie?
Well, and I always say, it's okay if you want to remake a mediocre movie, but make it better.
Yeah.
But the problem is just Hollywood won't. They just won't make it better. They won't make it, or either if they will, they'll turn it teen angst, and there'll be a whole bunch of other stuff.
If you redo Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I'm picketing. It won't matter, but I'm picketing. I'll be a one-man storm.
All right, so what would you be your rating?
Quick.
Okay.
I wanted to give a couple pieces of trivia.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one's not trivia. One, the place where he had the old 96er, that Ducey's Bar, and this was actually filmed in California when it was supposed to be set
Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin. But that place, a little bit after the filming, actually burned down. It was a gas fire. So they rebuilt it, but they just put posters and stuff showing the movie there. And the other thing, because you're such a huge Star Wars fan, there was 2 Star Wars glasses in one of the first-ish scenes when
it was one of the first scenes after he arrived and they were just sitting chit-chatting on the.
I wouldn't have picked him out in the movie. I've seen this several times. I just saw their glasses there. I didn't really pay attention. You said you picked it up right away.
And it's because I still have some from a long time ago. And it's just the shape of them is kind of iconic. It's the way that it looks. It's just that's just kind of.
I remember the Smurf ones and the Muppet ones and things like that. So those are just a couple things. So
I got the cool glasses then, huh?
Smurfette, come on, Gargamel, really? Looking at our producer, they're kind of going wrap it up. So my time warp rating. Now that I just said that. You could take this script today and remake it.
Yeah.
That's always my basis. Could you take this original script and remake it today with that original script? not a remake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not remaking this movie. I'm talking first day. No one's ever seen this. John Hughes says, typey, typey, type. Here's the script for The Great Outdoors, which was actually going to be called Big Country or something.
Yeah.
I think it could. Could it be done better? Absolutely. But I think it could. I'm going to give it a 7. I don't even remember what you rated it, but I'm going to give it a 7.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
But my caveat was that you're not taking the script, but taking the idea. So if you're taking the script, it's going to probably, if you're taking that, it's going to drop it down to probably about a 6. If you take the idea and remake it, but just make it better, I give it an 8 on that.
Perfect. Well, that's it for me.
That's it for us. And so now, what are your thoughts on The Great Outdoors? Do you want to leave it in the outdoors, or do you want to make it part of your collection? Leave those comments below, and we'll see you next time on Retro Film Review.